Warning, the following program contains adult language, adult themes, and spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised.
March 23rd, 1972. The day Dad came home from the war. And the day he met Mom. Now, I know this story might sound familiar, but I'm going to put the pieces together in a way that just might surprise you. And in order to do that, I have to start all the way at the beginning.
Good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of This Week's Episode. I'm your host this week, Karen Randazzo, and with me as always is cute soldier returned from war, Kris Randazzo.
Continue forward, my navigationally challenged male offspring.
I just realized what you did, and I hate you. Owner of fabulous hair, Evan Goldstein.
A shocking lack of face butt.
And candy craver, Angie Fernot.
Firefly Lane girls forever!
This is episode 266 for the week of,
Yeah, that one.
Sometime in January.
The first week of February,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah, that.
It depends. If you're early access, it's still January.
Right.
Yeah.
So sign up for our Patreon so you can be early access.
There it is.
This week this episode we're discussing the pilot episode of the Winchesters. Before we get to that, here's your weekly reminder that you can get in touch with us at mail@geekade.com. Tell us if you're a Supernatural fan. Tell us whether or not you are psyched about this prequel series. Tell us who is your favorite Winchester and why is it Dean? Tell us anything you want, as long as it's about Supernatural, because we always want to hear from you, the listeners.
But only about Supernatural.
Yeah, it's all Supernatural all the time. How you guys doing? I'm feeling a little, I don't know, spooky, a little monstery, a little supernatural.
Only once a week. Yeah, I mean, it's been a minute, guys. Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year.
I
You
forget
guys
how
missed
long.
out on our super fun Paul crossover and our end of year recap, which was a hoot and a holler.
It was.
But we
And
did miss you.
for anyone who listened to that and is wondering, we did see Paul, and he lent me the Paper Girls graphic novels, and I've read 2 of them, and
He picked that as...
I begrudgingly admit that Paul was right, that I do like it.
Damn you, Paul. Damn you.
Now, are you going to watch the show?
I think I'm probably going to finish reading, because what we talked about, that was one of his best shows of 2022 that he picked.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I had watched the first episode and not really cared for it that much. And he said, I think you should read the graphic novels. And then he showed up with them at my house, and I was like, I guess I have to now.
Yeah. Peer pressure.
Called your bluff on that, did he?
Well, I never said I was going to, but then he just brought them over, and I was like, all right, let's do this thing. I need a book to read anyway, so. And I read the first one, and that was basically the first episode. It was pretty much line for line, and I was like, yeah, I get it. I don't know why he thought reading this one would make me like it more, but then the second one, it got better, and I was like, okay, fine. I'm interested. I will read this.
I
So
mean,
that's
I
what
hear
I'm
good
doing.
things.
it's written by one of my favorite comic book writers, so...
Yeah, I know. Brian K. Vaughan is the man.
Yeah, he's pretty great. He's all right. I mean,
I liked Why the Last Man, so I mean the comic, not the show. I
Right.
didn't watch the show, but I heard it was a fucking dumpster fire, so.
that would be correct.
I feel like dumpster fires don't get the credit they deserve. I mean, they provide warmth, they
was just
burn
gonna
trash. Dumpster
Yes.
fires.
They're illuminating. I mean, the television was on while we watched the show. It did light the room up.
Right? Come on.
Dumpster fires get a bad rap.
Yeah.
Hot take right there.
Literally.
So that's me, and that's what I've been up to, is reading that. What about you guys?
Well,
Crickets.
You guys haven't been doing anything of note lately, have you?
No, nothing. So for anyone who wants to know, don't buy a house.
buying house suck.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Don't buy a house in North Carolina.
Even
specifically.
worse.
And even more importantly, don't let one of the sellers die while you're trying to do it.
Holy shit, what?
Yeah.
So, here, real quick. I was under the impression we were buying the house from a bank because I had to give the bank all of my information, but apparently that's not true.
No. You're not buying it from the bank.
We were buying it from two people.
Yes.
A mother and a son. And everything was good and cozies. We were so close to closing.
Home inspection went well.
And then one of them died.
You know why?
Because I was involved.
Because Evan started packing.
I started packing shit up, and that unfortunately killed this gentleman. What ended up happening is what the
murderer.
I know, it's horrible. The son passed.
He was so close to happiness.
And our realtor calls us, and I was talking to him, and I'm like, well, what do you know about this? I just dealt with my father's death a couple of years ago. Like there's a process. I'm like, well, was he sick? No. Was he married? No. Did he have kids? No. Oh shit. He doesn't have a will. No.
Oh shit.
So yeah, then probate and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
we're just now in a constant state of waiting and spending money to hold a ridiculous interest rate. That's not. Yeah.
That's the worst. I'm so sorry, you guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it though.
Obviously, sorry to this lady who lost her son as well.
Yeah, that's been the hardest part, has been well, I guess not the hardest part for us, but it's been definitely a struggle because there's a part of us that's like, hey, our entire lives are on hold right now, and we had notified our apartment complex that we wanted to move, and
we had notified our apartment complex that we wanted to burn this place to the fucking ground.
we did not. Thank God for once.
Sorry.
We did not burn the bridge that Evan so desperately is holding a torch
Oh
for.
my
and
God.
I
maybe
mean, until
gasoline.
now, because what you don't know is they listen to the podcast.
Welcome to our show.
So we were able to kind of go into the office, or by we I mean me, because Evan's not allowed to talk to them, and we were able to.
It's true.
We were able to keep our apartment for the time being, which that's nice.
So you're not homeless.
No,
You got that
and
going for you.
naturally, as soon as we found out that we were staying here, something broke. So that was cool. It was real cool.
Oh, rad.
So all right, real quick too. So we have found out we have to stay here, and before that, we had put in a request to have our hot water heater looked at because it was leaking. It's in a little closet, and it was leaking. It wasn't even leaking. It was just slight
There was
moisture.
rust. There was rust at the bottom because it actually had leaked a bit.
It wasn't it wasn't flooding into our
No.
living room. It was just there. So they were like, all right, we'll order you a new hot water heater. Okay. I don't know. A week later, this hot water heater shows up. We go through all of this shit, and they're like, all right, they're going to come in and replace it. So they come in, and I work from home, so and Angela does not. So I'm the one who had to be here dealing with them, and I got to be on my best behavior. I got to say pleases and thank yous and all of that stuff, and I was good. But the guy who was replacing it, he's just a regular old handyman. He's a maintenance dude who doesn't really. He's not
very
a plumber.
maintenance-y.
How's that? That's the best way to put it. He is definitely not a plumber. So I had to help him do a couple of things here and there, and finally got it hooked up. And he, as we're finishing up, he shows me one of the pipes that lead the intake. So the two pipes go into your hot water heater, one with cold water going in and then one with hot water coming out. And he showed me the one with the cold water going in. He's like, yeah, that's pretty corroded. We're going to have to change that. I'm like, okay.
But no. What he meant was eventually.
Eventually. And I said, all right. And so he leaves. Later on that evening, we're sitting on the couch watching something, and off in the distance, I hear this faint. Like, what the hell is that noise?
It was a squirrel, wasn't it?
No,
totally a
Squirrel moved into your water heater. I've been there.
You knew it.
What it was that pipe that he showed me that was going to need to be changed was slowly leaking into the foam container cover thing of the pipe.
It was
that
basically
on
just leaking into the top of the water heater where the wires
where
were.
the wires are. It was
It was the
arcing.
sound of it needing to be changed.
It was the sound of an almost electrical fire in our apartment where we have no maintenance number that works.
So we
Because-
call our maintenance guy. That doesn't work. I call the plumber that comes into our complex, and I say, "Hey, sir, like we have a rapport. Like we communally don't like this complex." And I'm like, "Hey, do me a favor. Do you have a number for the maintenance guys that like they don't give us?" And he's like, "Well, I don't feel comfortable giving that out, but I'll call them." And I said, "Perfect, thank you."
Oh, he
Two
did.
maintenance guys show up, but the first guy showed up and he was casual. The second guy like literally was like banging on the door. I'm like, "What's going on?" He goes, "The plumber called me. He told me your apartment was on fire." I said, "Well, not yet." And then I, on the slide, texted the plumber like, "Hey, thanks for getting them over here. Appreciate the fire story. It was great."
And that's why sometimes dumpster fires are helpful.
You saying you live in a dumpster?
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
We pay rent to live in a shithole.
Yeah.
Not for long, right?
That's very true.
That's true.
I work in waste management, okay? And
Oh, God.
my company won't work here. I'm like, no. We're not, we're not doing that. No.
All right. So anyway, now that we have clarified that our lives are cooler than television,
How
obviously,
are you guys doing?
You know.
Yeah. It's been a things have. I had a job interview
Yeah.
last week that was potentially life changing,
Yeah.
and I haven't heard back. So I'm just, over here internally screaming all day, every day.
Why don't you reach out and say, "Hey"?
That's it was a week ago today, so I figured I would. The conventional wisdom, as far as I've been told, is that tomorrow is the earliest I should be contacting them. So I'm going to
Okay.
give them until end
Close
of
of
business
business.
tomorrow, and then I'll send a little email out and see what's going on. I personally don't feel like I got it, but I mean, I don't know. I
They would be
really don't know.
You don't know what's going on with them over there.
Exactly. I got
So-
no ideas. All I know is that it's something that I really want, and it would be pretty wild if I got it.
I am super duper rooting for you, even though I have zero context for this.
Right, because we haven't spoken in ages.
I
It
know.
also
Are you
would
faking?
like
Because I did tell you.
You mentioned something.
Like, are you? Yeah, I told you exactly what it was.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
The director of operations for. No, that's not true, Chris. I'm just joking.
it would also like just impact our family in a big positive
Yeah.
way. So like he's not the only one sitting over there internally screaming.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No pressure.
At the same time, I work. I have to go into the office 2 days a week, which is a thing that I hate. And we only have one car between us, and we have kids who need to go to school and don't have a school bus.
One functioning car. You do own a car.
I own a car. It doesn't run. It's not currently insured or anything. It's just sitting in the driveway waiting for us to get rid of it. So I get a ride from a coworker who I am on her way to work.
Mm-hmm.
She's my only coworker who I am on her way to work, and that's important because she just got a new job.
Oh, no.
And she starts Monday. So I spent about a week not knowing what the F we were going to do. I was looking at cars, like, to buy. Kris came up with some kind of plan to get my old car running, putting more money than it's worth it to put into it, but it's less money than we'd have to spend to buy a new car. So that was a possibility. Turns out they decided to rule that at least in the short term, I can just work from home until I can get it figured out.
Well, that's nice.
It is, because we all know I prefer that. Like, it makes my life infinitely better to not have to go there.
Heck yeah.
Oh, as my coworker and I ride to and from the office, all we talk about is how much worse and harder our whole lives are because of having to go there. Like,
yeah,
whatever.
I'm a huge fan of. Yes, please.
All employers.
Yeah, this job that I applied for is like, it's pretty hands-on. It's pretty involved in the company's entire situation, and it is fully remote. At most, I would be welcome to, not required to, but welcome to go to the main office like once every couple of months.
Well, that's awesome.
And Kris
So
would actively
the ideal
love doing
situation is that Kris gets this job, and then we can afford a second car, and then I don't have to worry about it.
I
But,
mean, that would be
but
the dream.
Yes, that would indeed be the dream. That would be
I mean,
marvelous.
theoretically, the other side effect of him getting this job is potentially that I would be able to get a different job that I don't hate so much.
That is also part of the dream.
So lots of dreams on the line. No pressure.
Big
Good.
dreams. Big dreams.
So if you have like positive vibes to throw out there
Oh.
or whatever, we would appreciate them.
Yes, anyone who has some positive vibes to share, we'll take them.
But in the meantime, everything else is pretty okay. Kids
Yeah.
are good. We had a really nice meeting at school this morning where we learned that our son is just, crushing it academically.
Fantastic.
And they have lots of strategies for helping him in other areas of development
Yay.
he
Great.
struggles with. And our daughter was named Megastar last week. They have a thing where like their teachers can nominate them as for good behavior.
Is that because
Really?
she terrorized
Good.
them into submission?
Hey, is she holding someone hostage?
I know, you guys, when I posted it on Facebook, I was like, I don't know where this Megastar behavior is when she's at home, but
She uses it all at school, and then she just has to
then that's a real thing. It's called restraint collapse. And it's 100% real, and it is 100% what's going on with her. She's fantastic in school, and then she comes home and is a shithead to me.
I'm both saddened to hear that, but not surprised. And part of me really does expect your daughter to grow up to be a supervillain, and I'm kind of rooting for her.
We have her a
You
cape
guys-
already.
She really is. It's a little terrifying.
You made
More than
this.
a little.
Oh, and you guys are comics people, so
What?
maybe you know. What?
What?
You know who Shannon Hale is?
Shannon Hale.
Not by name.
Squirrel Girl.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
So my daughter just got a book at the library tonight by Shannon Hale. Not Squirrel Girl, but it was something else.
Oh, yeah. Okay. She does. You talk the author,
She's doing
right?
she's
Yeah.
apparently
Okay.
I'm looking her up right now because this is a person that I was not familiar with by name, but I've seen some of the titles that she's worked on.
She's
It looks like she mostly writes for kids stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I'm a little
kitty corn.
Oh my god. I'm a little out of touch with some of the kids.
she loves
specific.
itty bitty kitty corn.
That so tracks.
Tell
I
me
did
more.
not make the connection that was her as well, but yeah.
I just saw an icon. I didn't know that.
Itty bitty kitty corn. Tell me more.
They're
Wow, she
very
got a
cute.
lot of stuff.
Oh my god, it's so cute. Okay, yes.
Yeah, you would like her art. Or the art, I guess, since she's the author.
Yeah, she works with different, but it's very cool. And this is a wonderful interview. Oh my god, it's hugging a unicorn. What's happening?
Yep.
I just became a fan.
Like, follow.
Love.
Hunt, I had a question. You said that
no.
you were having a conversation on Discord about a show. Do we want to dive into that? Seeing as I watched it.
Okay, so sorry people on Discord, but Evan had watched it and really didn't enjoy it, and my free time has been somewhat limited as of late, and I had a conversation with a friend recently where he put something into really good words. He said that he doesn't want to hate watch things because he doesn't want to waste his life like that. And it just kind of made me think about, like, if I have time and I'm not enjoying something, why am I watching it? So this is in relation to the Velma conversation about that show. And I just wanted to say that because I really hadn't been enjoying it, I've seen people say that it seems to be coming around. I'm going to wait for there to be a few more episodes so that if it's going to have a turn for the better, I can go straight to that instead of like watching the first 2 episodes.
Suffering through.
Yeah, like if I'm not into it, you know, some shows do that where even though it took a little while for the show to find its stride, it does find it. It doesn't seem like it's quite gotten there, so I'm going to kind of defer to y'all and see what everyone says about it in the near future and then watch it. Just because, like, I didn't want to come on here and be like, this freaking show, bah, 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 if I didn't like it. I did the few minutes that I watched, I had opinions, and I feel like I should just keep them to my damn self until I'm actually up to date. So,
yeah, I saw the clips that people are posting online, but I don't care about Scooby-Doo to begin with. So, like, this me not liking it, you know, I was never going to like it to begin with. So
I really didn't want to call you a disappointment today.
That's fair.
Scooby-Doo,
I mean, it's kinda
really?
It's kind of like when people would tell me I need to watch Smallville. I'm like, all right, you got to watch Smallville. The first, like, 3 seasons aren't very good, but eventually it gets great. I'm like, you want me to watch, what, 3 seasons of TV before it gets good? That doesn't seem worth it in the end.
But, like, Scooby-Doo is, like, a staple of childhood cartoons. Like, it was on when I went to a coffee shop on Saturday, and I was so excited that I paid more money to be at that coffee shop to watch a cartoon I don't need to watch there. Like...
So, Kris, when you say, are you not a Scooby, like, do you not know Scooby-Doo, or are you talking about Velma in particular?
I know Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
For some reason when I was a kid.
Just didn't
it
click
never
with
really,
you. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't click with me, which is extra weird because I love Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Yeah.
I always did when I was a kid, like Hong Kong Phooey and even like the later stuff, Two Stupid Dogs, but like, you know, the Huckleberry Hound, Yogi Bear, like
Just
Hanna-Barbera was my jam. And you know what I think it was? I think it was the laugh track.
Oh.
And I know like other things had that too, but like I also never really got into the Flintstones. I got into the Jetsons, but Jetsons didn't have a laugh track. And I think it was the laugh track that was the thing that put me off the most on it, because canned laughter has always bothered me, even as a kid. But yeah, like I didn't hate Scooby-Doo. It just, it didn't really...
It's not your jam.
Yeah, it's not my jam. So like,
okay.
No, this show is not doing Scooby-Doo justice. Like, that part I don't care about. The fact that it doesn't look funny is what I care about.
Yeah.
And like, in a world where Harley Quinn and Lower Decks exist, I don't need this. And somebody on Twitter said, and like, I have to agree with them, like, anytime anybody wants to do this, like, wacky reboot thing of an old Hanna-Barbera cartoon, no matter what, it's already been done better by Venture Brothers.
Yes.
So,
Whoa, yeah.
So
I just love when a sentence starts and somebody on Twitter said.
My biggest worry about this show is that I really like the Harley Quinn show. I think it's a very entertaining, and
it's fantastic.
It's but the character that you're watching fits into that world, like the over violent and the like. It's just, it makes sense. Okay. Lower Decks, like, that's snarky comedy, and they built a cast of characters that fit in that world. They are taking, for Velma, they are shoehorning this idea into a modern wholesome, or no, an old time wholesome cartoon to fit modern sensibilities, and it doesn't work. Like,
and not even like, it is an old time one, but it's also current. Scooby-Doo never stopped. There's constantly new Scooby-Doo stuff out there. Like, why are you making an adult thing? I don't know. It doesn't.
Because
honestly,
Mindy
I don't care.
Kaling
I just
wanted
don't
to.
care.
That's it.
Yeah. So, like I said,
I've spoken so much more about this in the last 5 minutes than I then really warrants how much I care about it.
So I will definitely still at some point give it a watch, just because Velma was actually always my favorite part of Scooby-Doo, and I want to know what they've done to her.
No, then I'm going to not let you watch it if you liked Velma.
Oh, I don't know.
Just take it off the Plex.
I told the folks on Discord I'd watch it. I don't want to let y'all down.
I'll take the bullet for you. So,
anyway.
So that's a show we're not going to watch, but let's maybe talk about shows that we have been watching. I am going to take executive hosting power and direct the conversation to Angie because I'm excited about her.
Oh my God. Okay, so I already found an article that goes ahead for what happens in the second half of season 2. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you should, dummy, because it's Firefly Lane. Okay, sorry, nobody would know that. But I'm so excited. That is a show that, because we're all picking shows we're watching that we want to talk about. This is the only thing I want to talk about. I actually was texting one of my girlfriends in real time as I was watching it because I was having a lot of feelings. So, Karen, I'm actually planning to do a rewatch from the beginning. So be prepared, because you will be the person who gets those messages, because I had to spread them out so that I didn't destroy a friendship.
Okay.
But yeah, I just I love this show. I love the friendship between these two girls and the way that they support each other, and the way that the show even demonstrates that, yes, friends are going to have fights, but they will find ways to forgive each other, and they're not perfect people, and they don't pretend to be perfect people, except for the whole part where Tully's supposed to be perfect because she's a celebrity, whatever. But as a friend to her friend, she doesn't pretend to be something she's not, and I love her. I love their dynamic, and I think everyone needs a little bit more Tully in their life, and I want to be her, and I love her. And also, I am in love with Katherine Hagel. I love her forever and ever and ever and ever.
They're both very good, her and Sarah Chalk.
Yes, and Sarah Chalk, she's great. She does a great job in this role. I just since the first time I ever saw, I think I said this the first time we talked about this, but the first time I ever saw Katherine Hagel on screen, I just fell in love with her. I adore her. I just think that she's just amazing. She actually, she reminds me of an old photo I found of my grandmother from when she was young. And so she, I think I just look at her and I'm like, my grandmother is the most amazing human on earth. Therefore, Katherine Hagel resembles her and is an amazing actress and is just very charismatic on screen. And therefore, she is the epitome of current female awesomeness. I just I don't know. I love it. Their friendship is super wholesome. I think what they're going through, it's so hard because I'm not a parent. So I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about Kate's reaction to what happens, and do we want to spoil it? Because it's been out for a little while now.
Yeah, and I mean, we spoil things.
Yes.
We have a spoiler warning at the top of the show, but, extra spoiler warning for Firefly Lane.
Yeah.
I was on Mara's side when she basically parent trapped them.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, they do need to talk. Nothing good comes of just nobody communicating about the situation.
And what was the situation for those who don't know?
So Sarah Chalk's character has Kate has a teenage daughter, and Tully is Katherine Heigl's character is single, and she takes the teenage daughter for an overnight so that Kate and her the ex-husband that she's reconciling with can have time to themselves, and ends up getting in an accident with alcohol involved because the teenager said she was going to go to the movies, lied, actually ended up at a frat party, and since Tully didn't know she was going to have to pick the kid up, she had some wine, but she was, thought that the teenager was in danger, so she raced right over to get them, and then they got T-boned. So the accident wasn't her fault, and both got seriously hurt, but survived the accident. Now, Kate, the mom, does not want to forgive her friend, or feels like she can't forgive her friend for everything, and for like whatever, a while they don't even talk. Like she won't even hear Tully's side
For
of
a
the
year.
story, which for me, like, there were extenuating circumstances.
Yep.
It's tough for me to say because I don't think you would know until how you would react until something like this happened to you as a parent, and like there's so many specifics to the situation that give it nuance, which is something about the show that I like. I think that's, same thing you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's bothering Kate, what's bothering Kate about Tully is that she doesn't really ever apologize for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that she wasn't apologizing for this either. She eventually did apologize.
Took her a minute.
Which,
It did.
but
it took her a minute.
It totally took her a minute. I guess that's part of her character, is never feeling like she has to apologize. But their whole friendship was founded on, like, the idea of love never means never having to say you're sorry, which is bullshit. But, like, it's something they both believed for the entire length of the friendship. And then it was tested, and Kate's immediately like, nope, never mind. I don't believe that anymore.
Yep.
Nope.
So, I don't know. This is your show, and I'm talking about it, but...
Well, that's,
No, I asked. I
was-
wanted your opinion on that because, it's hard because there are specific scenes that I can think of. One thing that absolutely cracked me up was when she has the sunburn from the lamp. Oh my God. And that just to me spoke volumes to the level of comfort that they had in their friendship. But then the comparison, and this like broke my heart though, right? So there's a scene in the show, for anyone who hasn't watched it, where Kate is getting ready to go away with somebody else because there is a point where there is a pause. I think that's the right word for it, right? Basically.
Didn't they break up?
Yes,
she had
I
broken
mean,
up
she
with
breaks
Johnny.
up with him, but I feel like in their overall timeline, it's like it feels more like a pause than a full-on breakup. But yeah, I guess at the time she was dating someone else, so
They were on a break.
But so they break up, and then she meets another guy, and she decides to go on a trip with him, and in preparation, she wants to have a little bit of a tan, so she decides to try using one of Tully's like tanning lamps. And this is
in the 80s.
The 80s? Yeah. Okay. So clearly that technology was on par. And she ends up burning her ass horribly, by the way. And so she has this like ridiculous sunburn. But when she's trying to, I guess, talk about it to Tully, she basically just bends over and pulls her pants down. Like, and it's just so funny because it's like this level of comfort that they have, and you're just like, wow, that is a level of friendship. Like, for me, I was
they're
like,
basically sisters.
yeah. But even with my sister, I would not, like, I don't even have that level of comfort with my own sister, and that's fine. Like, that's one of the things that I think is so beautiful about their friendship, is that it's just so pure and so trusting. And what I love in contrast is that every episode sort of has a theme. So in that very same episode, you're watching Kate try to build a friendship with somebody new as she's taking a creative writing class, and she's in the bathroom, and every now and then with this woman that she has met, she'll just get too casual because she's never really had another close friend the way that she's friends with Tully. So she'll get a little too casual, and she'll be like, bitch, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And the woman's like, did you just call me bitch? And so they're in the bathroom, and she's like, yeah, oh my God, does your nipple ever itch? And which, by the way, fucking hysterical. I've had that conversation with friends. But then she goes to be like, yeah, I have like this weird rash on my tit. And she like goes to like basically whip her tit out. And this woman's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, we're not there. And you see a hint of what she was going to show. And as a viewer, I feel like, immediately, you're like, oh, fuck, you've got to get that checked. And it turns out at the end of the season that Kate has cancer.
Oh, no.
And it's just the most, like, devastating thing, because that, like, if she wasn't hanging on to this anger, she and Tully would have already faced this together. Maybe it would have been addressed sooner. Like, that's a thing I keep thinking about. And just this whole history, this whole friendship, every single episode that you're watching, you can see these moments where Kate would actually be really selfish throughout their friendship and sort of just ignore Tully when Tully needed her. And Tully would sort of like push boundaries and be unapologetic. And so they have, you're like kind of seeing the highlights of their flaws, and it makes it, I feel as though it was an intentional choice to kind of make it harder to just side with Kate and feel that sympathy for her. And I liked that, like you said, nuance. But then you get to the end of the season and it just rips your heart out and stomps all over it.
I have a slight problem with that reveal that they did. Like, obviously the scene where she is knocking on Tully's doors kills me.
Yeah.
But before we get there,
yes,
when she gets to the point where she's like, I need to go to the doctor. That scene in the bathroom where she like, she like checks out her chest and she's like, oh, I think I need to go do something about this.
Yeah.
Was right after she had sex with Johnny.
Yes!
And nobody was like, hey,
what the fuck was that
your
about?
boob looks weird. Maybe instead of doing this, we should make a doctor's appointment.
Yes.
Nope. They just went ahead and did it, and then afterwards, and it because it's TV, she's wearing something on top, so it's not like fully out or anything, but you can see it. It's like the rash or whatever is on her. It's like creeping above the line of what she's wearing. It's like, how? She's not stupid.
No.
I don't know how she let it get that far without anything making her go and get it checked out. Like, okay, I get it that, like, if Tully had been in her life, that would have been the first person that would have, like, convinced her to do it. But, like, Johnny sees her naked.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't say anything. I mean, we've seen evidence that he's been with other women, and he knows that they don't all have, like, a giant red rash on their boob. That drove me so fucking
he had
crazy.
Also been
it took me out of it
her.
for a minute.
I think the answer is what I said last night. Hey, shut up.
Yes, thank you, pitch meeting.
I'm going to need you to get all the way off of my back about that.
Oh, let me get off of that thing.
We introduced a friend to that recently, and he was like, I want to watch all of this. And I was like, you should.
I had the opportunity where I just had dropped, it's going to be super easy, barely an inconvenience, just into a conversation, forgetting that I was around people that, like, to my knowledge, did not know what I was talking about. And then, like, my best friend was like, I love that guy. And I was like, this is another reason I love you.
That's awesome. Good friend.
But anyway.
But
yes.
Which
is, she's my, she's my Tully.
Oh. Yeah, that 100% tracks, though, as far as, like, what you're saying about going back to, her and Johnny. And I don't know. I think the other thing that I noticed, too, was the fact that, like, Tully really didn't have anyone else, and you just don't see it for such a long time. Like, she's lonely, and she isolates, but I think the first season you get a sense of her codependence. The second season you really see how strong it is for her, and the level of that's like somewhat unhealthy. So I think what made me happy was that even though it was grounded in their past relationship, when she went back to the old house and like redid it, which by the way I absolutely don't believe for a fucking second she did that herself, but when she goes back to her roots and she focuses on that project, you do see her growing as a person and strengthening the bonds that she does have with others and working on her relationship with her mom and all of these great things. And it's wonderful, but it just, like, I don't know. I feel like there is an element of this that speaks to like when you find a friend that you really truly love and that is your person, right? That is your best friend in the whole world. Like, it can be really easy to ignore building other relationships. And I think, especially in this show, it highlights how lonely that can be when something changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, they do a really good job of kind of like making me want to call all of my friends and just keep them a little closer.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important. And I love that there's a show that highlights that feeling and makes me think about those things and have that gratitude for the relationships in my life. But it also rips my heart out and stomps on it, which is, less fun.
How very dare they?
So I can tell you that I did find an article, if you'd like to see it. It has spoilers because, of course, this is based on a book, technically 2 books, this series. I am 100% going to have to read them now. But I know how it ends. So
I do not want to know.
Okay.
I saw the books in the library last week when I was there, and I was like, I'm going to wait.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those things where I'm going to have to get the books just so I can revisit this world a little bit and then see what the author's perspective was, because, of course, things always change when they go to television.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I was wondering about the whole breast cancer thing was like, is this how they did it in the book? And so they had to do it this way? Because, like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that part really, really, really made me crazy.
Do you want to talk about that?
I'm not usually one to nitpick shows, but...
Well, no, but I definitely...
Nitpick.
I was annoyed by certain decisions they made for Kate in the season in general, so, yeah. I don't know how much more I should talk about this because I don't want to take forever talking about this show, but I'm really glad that it came back. I really loved watching it. I'm going to do a rewatch from the beginning of the show at some point, and then you will get all of my, play-by-plays.
I think part 2 is in sometime in the summer.
Yeah, it comes out in June, according to the article I was reading.
There we go. I knew that was something.
Yes, supposedly, and I don't know if this is an actual true story, it drops June 8th. So if it does, I'm taking off work. Because I, really need
priorities.
Yeah. Listen, I know friends who take off.
Have we all not been there at one point or another over something?
I mean, this would be literally the first time I've ever done this for any media, and I have no regrets. So. No regrets.
No regrets.
Regrets redacted. So, yeah, how did you feel about the season?
I agree with you that it was, for the most part, very good, and I'm also happy that it came back.
Cool.
What about your husband? What has he been watching, sir?
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Let us talk about our girly show. God.
You know what? Real quick, I said I was gonna. So I started watching the new Night Court series because back in the day I loved that show. Melissa Rauch plays Abby Stone, the daughter of Harry Stone, who was the original Night Court judge, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It does the original so far. It does the original show justice. The same mentality, the same feeling, the heartwarming goodness kind of thing, because that was the type of person that Judge Stone was. Like, he was always looking for the good in people, and that's what the basis of the show was. So it's a great successor to the show. Everybody involved is doing a great job. It's amazing that they got John Larroquette to come back, and he is still the same smarmy, quippy son of a bitch. This is the part that he was meant to play, and now in the original show he was a prosecutor, and now he's being a defendant, and he still has his personality.
Defender, not a defendant.
Oh yeah, defender. Excuse me.
Thing.
Correct. I apologize. He is the defender, and he just still has the same mentality towards the job itself. It's Night Court. It's the worst of the worst. It's New York. It's the dregs of society, and it's just really fast and funny, and of course it's a sitcom. It's, you know, I'm sure like canned laughter doesn't bother me as much until I have the ability to ignore it most of the time, but I'm pretty sure this is one of those laugh tracky kind of shows.
Canned laughter on cartoons. I forgot to specifically say that.
Okay. All right.
Because that's impossible. And even as a kid, I knew that was impossible.
Well, maybe they're showing it in front of a live studio audience, sir.
Well, speaking of which, it's my understanding that Night Court is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Like the new one?
No, this new one. I don't think that's canned laughter. I think...
Oh, I don't hear it.
I need to look that up to be sure, but I'm pretty sure I read that one of the things that was special about it was that they really tried to not modernize it and just make more Night Court. Like they wanted to capture that feeling, and part of that was filming it in front of a live studio audience.
And the set looks great. It looks like the original courtroom. The cafeteria looks the same. Like, I mean, it's to the point where like she goes into the judge's chambers and they're going through some of her dad's stuff, and like there was a stuffed armadillo that was in the entirety of the first run of the show, and they brought that back. Like they're paying true homage to the first run. And they're treating it with the reverence and respect that it deserves, because watching this show led me to rewatching the original. And I mean, Angela could speak to this. Like, it holds up. There are lots of funny laughter. There are certain, I mean, the John Larroquette character of the old was of the time, so he was kind of a womanizer and kind of scummy, but outside of that, it's still like Bull is great and whatnot.
The show makes me laugh, and I didn't expect it. Like, I came in randomly, as I often do when he's watching television, and I was just like, I'll sit down for a minute. And now, like, I'm invested, and it's weird, and it's very cute and wholesome.
And there's so much of the original show to go back to that I feel, because the new one is of course weekly, I can bounce back and forth and enjoy it. It's half-hour sitcom. It's a lot of fun. If you like it's not breaking any barriers. It's not, not world changing, but it's a good show. It's a good time. So I highly, especially if you like the original show, I highly recommend it.
What made you want to watch this? The old one again? Was it just going back because you'd started the new one, or was there something specific? I
originally watched Night Court when it was like,
yeah, you said you were a fan.
And when I rewatched when I watched the new one, I was like, this really, like, it feels like I remember it, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just remembering it fondly. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was curious to see how it would hold up, because also when they changed the John Larroquette character, mm-hmm. I couldn't remember if what position he was playing in the judicial system. So I went back to look at it, and I just watched the first episode of the original show, and I was like, man, this is fun. This is nice. And then I continued to watch it, and they tackle a bunch of topics that I was very surprised by. Like, there's like in the original show, there's Bull, which is the cop,
Richard Mall.
Yeah, like the man is. It's shocking how many.
He's still alive.
He got.
Paul mentioned that to me, that it's weird that he's not on it, or somebody.
Well, he just got into trouble. Like, he was just arrested for shoplifting or something.
Hmm.
It's just a shame. But, like, it's...
Boy, that would suck if you wound up in Night Court over that.
Right?
The irony is not lost.
It's what's funny to me is that, like, I think, let's say there are 6 or 7 main characters on the original show, and, like, 50% of them are over 6'4". Like, they're giant human beings on this show that make everybody else look teeny tiny. But Bull, who is an officer of the court, in one of the episodes, he really wants to have a kid, like be a big brother kind of situation, like in the program, and they give him a child to work with. And as I'm looking at this kid, I'm like, I know that actor, like I know that face, that face, I recognize that face, and I let the show go. And it turns out it wasn't a little boy, it was a little girl. but she was faking being a boy so that she could have a father figure in her life. And that just went down a path about how certain kids need certain things. I'm like, this is a lighthearted sitcom. Like, this is heavy. And I appreciated it because they took the topic seriously. They didn't make a joke out of it, which is what you would expect in a silly sitcom.
Well, I mean, it really set the stage for shows like Scrubs and whatnot to do that sort of thing.
I was going to say, the best sitcoms are the ones that can sneak in the stuff that actually matters and still keep you entertained. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow.
You snuck in a moment.
You made me feel
feels. You brought him.
Yeah.
My only qualm so far with the new one is the officer of the court in the new one. Her name is Lucreta, and she's it's just joke after joke after joke after joke. There's no reality to her character. Like, Bull had funny quirks about him, but he
had more substance.
He had more substance. Like, there was a whole episode where he felt like people didn't look at him as like a normal human because he was so big and so intimidating and whatnot. And like, of course, halfway through the show, they made a Frankenstein reference, like, I am a man kind of thing. But it showed how he had substance. He had feelings. They're not like, Lucreta just seems to be hey, we thought of this funny line, let's give it to her kind of thing. And I don't feel any substance yet, but it has only been 2 episodes. So
yeah, it's got time to get there.
Yeah. But I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Have you guys watched it at all?
Not yet. It was actually, if it was my pick this week, I was going to choose that for a feature topic next time. I've been meaning to. I've just been watching some other things. In my spare time.
If you have any fondness for the original show, or like those sitcoms of like the mid 80s, like, it's very reminiscent of that, and it's slightly modernized, but not. They're not. How do I say this? They're not checking boxes. And that's one thing that I can't stand in a show, is where they say, hey, look, there's this character, there's this character, there's this character, just to make sure that all of those people are there to say, hey, look, we're this, pay attention. And they're not doing that. It's Abby Stone is the daughter, and it feels completely natural. What's weird is she does, like, if you watched Big Bang, she is from that show, and that's not her voice on Big Bang Theory is not her real voice. So when you look at her and the noises that come out of her face now, it just feels weird. I'm waiting for her to get that weird squeaky voice, and it's just not gonna happen. So. But all in all, it's a great show. I really enjoy it.
Well, the less it has in common with Big Bang Theory, the better.
I was going to say, when he pointed out that she's like, oh, the girl from Big Bang Theory, and I was like, why are you talking to me like I would know that? Like, no.
So
it was
I
on
should
for a
avoid
very
this
long
show.
time.
Got it.
It was on for a very, very long time.
So are a lot of
was
things.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So were a lot of things. Night Court was not a show for me. Like, I don't have any nostalgia for it. So, but I'm happy to check it out if that's your.
If you got some
desire
extra
to.
time lying about, which none of us do.
We'll see what happens.
In all our copious spare time.
Yeah.
In the meantime, was there a show you did want to talk about, dear?
There was indeed a show I wanted to talk about, dear.
Oh,
so we're let's see.
Spicy.
Willow ended. We finished Willow. We finished Jack Ryan. Both were excellent. Really liked both of those shows, but we're kind of waiting for the next thing to come. Right? Mm-hmm. There's nothing on right now that we're both like, all right, this is our next show. This is the next thing we dive into, and it's been a while, right? Because last year was so stacked with TV shows. So I looked at my list and we're like, there was an entire season of Law and Order last year that we never got around to. So we decided to give that a shot. Now, here's something I know about this new season of Law and Order before going into it is the previous season was It struggled to find its footing, but it was okay. I really didn't like the cop guy, the new cop, but they brought back Anthony Anderson, and he was fine. Anthony Anderson was out. He bounced after the first season, and honestly, who can blame him? But it's Law and Order. It was one of my all-time favorite shows, so of course I'll give this new season a try. But the first episode was really weird because the first episode was the third part of a 3-part crossover event with the other 2 Law and Order shows I couldn't conceivably care less about. SVU and Fridge Humpers Unit. I don't know. So this
very unique
Major
show.
Crimes?
Fridge Humpers.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, something
That's what
like
he
that.
said,
Major
Karen,
Crimes.
Fridge Humpers.
It's something. The Christopher Maloney show. They brought Detective Stabler back from the dead to do a show. I don't even know how they did it, but I'm sure he was just faked his death or something for 20 years or however long it's been since he was off. They killed him off the show, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
Cover.
This new episode was such an SVU episode. It was shot and written like SVU top to bottom, but with regular Law and Order characters. So I wasn't crazy about it. It was entertaining. It was stupid. We had fun watching it. Like we were poking holes in it and stuff the whole time.
There was, because it was part 3 of something. We didn't know what had happened before this. I mean, we could intuit the basic plot points that came before it, but like the specific things that happened before this episode started, we didn't know. So the first scene with Benson in it, Mariska Hargitay, she looked like shit. Like, she looked like she hadn't brushed her hair, and we were like, is that intentional? Like, did she not sleep in the scenes that came before this, and so she looks like that on purpose? Or does, like, hairstyling on the show just suck?
Yeah, it was weird, because, like, her outfit was, like, an outfit, normal whatever outfit, but then her hair was just like, give that lady a comb. Do something. Like, it was nuts. And then she wound up wearing that
Denim
stupid
blazer
denim
that
blazer.
I hated.
Damn.
Man, wardrobe was not doing her any favors, but regardless, that episode was dumb. And also, we only got like maybe 5 seconds of the new cop, and made zero impression on me. But you know who the new cop is?
No.
It's I don't know if I'm actually pronouncing his name right, but it's Makad Brooks. You might know him as James Olsen from Supergirl.
Shut up.
No. Really?
Yeah. He has a goatee now, and he's unrecognizable.
He doesn't look anything like him, but he sounds like him. And you know what he is? He's freaking perfect for this role.
Yeah, it was like about a half a scene before Kris turned to me and was like, I like him for this.
Oh,
This
God,
works.
he's great.
I like this
He's
works.
great. I mean,
Alright.
the other guy, the Burn Notice guy, he's still awful. I still don't like him even a little bit.
Yeah.
But this dude, like he showed up for his first scene. It was a dead body. He made Law and Order style, like Lenny Briscoe style quip that was not good, but he delivered it perfectly. And I was like, "Yep, I'm in. You son of a bitch, I'm in. You got me." And like then the scene later, so they're looking for a white guy in a baseball cap in park, right? And like so he's doing his first real talking scene, really having a conversation, doing the Law and Order, like, talking about things. And he looks over and there's a uniform like patting down some brown dude who's not wearing a hat. And he
A
just
white uniform cop patting down a brown dude.
a white dude, uniform cop, patting down some brown dude. And he walks over and he's like, "What are you doing?" "We're looking for a white guy in a baseball. What are you doing?" And he gives him this look like, not being racist. And like, he just kind of shut him down. I was like, good job, show. That was handled so much better than anything they gave Anthony Anderson last season.
Yep.
Like,
100%.
they tried to do that kind of stuff with him last season. It just wasn't working. It just kind of really smelled like Anthony Anderson did not want to be there. And clearly he didn't. But this dude, this is like, I never really got him as James Olsen in Supergirl. That character was such a weird, nonsensical character that they clearly had no idea what to do with. It turned him into Guardian and all that kind of jazz. Like,
That was
it just didn't work. Just didn't work. This is like a glove. I want this guy to be here forever, and I want them to get rid of this burn notice dude, and then I'm good. Because the second episode it felt like classic Law and Order. Like, Karen and I have seen hundreds of episodes of Law and Order, so like the whole time we're watching it, it's just like, and this is gonna happen, and this, what is this guy doing? Why is he's gonna run? Don't run! And we're just, because we've seen this a bajillion times before.
That's one of the great things about Law and Order is how formulaic it is.
It is. That's what makes it a comfort TV show. But by the end, even when it surprises you, you still kind of know the story beats that are going to lead you to those surprises. But by the end, it was telling a story that had some feeling to it. It was telling a story that was doing what Law and Order does well, besides being, comfort TV. Mm-hmm. And it was very nice to see it. This felt so much more like classic Law and Order than the entirety of the previous season did. And while they're writing Jack McCoy pretty well, but I feel like he's leaning a little bit more, less sharp than Jack McCoy used to be. But besides that, and this cop guy, God, I just wish they'd get rid of him.
It is even more evident this season how much Jack is turning into Adam Schiff, though.
Oh my God, yeah, which makes me so happy.
Yeah, I mean, I picked up on it, so it's
not
obvious.
the real life Adam Schiff, the character,
of the DA Adam Schiff that was on the show, in the very beginning.
Yeah, there is a real politician, Adam Schiff, but yes, the God, what was his name? Stephen Hill. Stephen Hill played Adam Schiff in the old show, and he was just this grumpy old dude telling him to go.
He's just like,
yes,
just telling you the way it is. I'm not saying it's the right thing.
I'm here for it.
Guy was 50% of his role was just walking outdoors. It's just like, I'm leaving.
Oddly, the other 50% was walking into doors.
My wife needs me for like he was like Bob Kelso, but like serious. It was
okay. So I have to say this now because you bring up Bob Kelso. I'm watching that 90s show. Okay, because I was a big fan of that 70s show, and there is a scene where Kitty and Red are sitting on the couch, and Kitty leans over to Red and she goes, I love this Law and Order show because at the beginning it's law, and then at the end it's order.
Not to be confused with Dr. Kelso from Scrubs.
Well,
that's the
it just tied in because they're the neighbors.
That's what I love about it. It was one of the genius conceits of that
what
show
it says
in the
on the tin.
They're like, all right, well, we can't do hour shows, right? 1 hour shows. We're going to sit down and watch an hour of television. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make half a show that's a cop show, half a show that's a lawyer show. We're going to stick them together, right? Half hour one show, half hour the other show, but it's really one show. So that we're getting them for 2 shows for the price of 1. It's great. It's genius. That is how the show was pitched. It's freaking genius. But yeah, I was very happy with what I saw. New Law and Order. New. It was back in October. It was the 2nd season of the year. Like they really cranked this thing out. But
damn.
I'm happy with the path that it's on. It's if you're looking for realistic depictions of police activity and courtrooms, you're looking in the wrong place. This is a fantasy world, and it is fine by me. I love it. I'm happy.
I feel like it's a part of its coming back was almost like a post-COVID economic initiative in New York. Like, all right, we got to get people working again in this city. What can we do? Let's bring back Law and Order. That employed half the actors in the city.
I support it. And listen, everything I know about cops, I learned from Law and Order. So I don't know what you're talking about, Kris.
Everything everyone knows about cops, they learned from Law and Order.
Didn't you know I'm a
John
cop?
Oliver did an episode on why that's such a bad thing.
That is very true.
Yep. He did a whole episode on how that show is incredibly dangerous, actually.
Yep.
And it's because people take it too seriously, and because the way it presents itself and as a very realistic kind of thing. But as long as you realize that this isn't how reality works, it's a great
TV show.
I don't believe you. This is my reality.
I am going to be, as long as we continue to watch it, I am going to be like expecting at any moment for Makad Brooks to turn into Guardian.
Oh my god.
Because he's still in really good shape.
He is. Like, he could pull it off.
He had to like rough up a bodyguard guy and arrest him in one episode, and it was like, all right, no, he can handle his shit.
That outfit of him, like, he just looked so stupid as Guardian.
And that chase that would not, but back in the Law and Order episode where they chased down the guy in the Yankee. there was this amazing chase where they had to catch a suspect, and the guy like was waiting in a stairwell and smacked Makad Brooks in the face with a folding chair.
Oh my god, he got chaired right in the face.
WWE style.
And then he ended up jumping off of a rooftop onto like an adjacent lower rooftop.
Yeah, he did all this crazy parkour stuff, and then Makad Brooks was just like
waiting
down
in the alley when he finally climbed.
Because he did all this like crazy flippity doopity doo stuff, getting away from Burn Notice. And Burn Notice, by the way, he just looked doofy as hell running after this guy. He was like, he was running. I was like, man, 70-year-old Lenny Briscoe was more convincing chasing after dudes than this guy is. But then, yeah, it all ended up with Makad Brooks looking cool as hell.
He's like leaning on a dumpster waiting for the guy, like, nice try.
That was the line. He said, nice try. That was awesome. Yeah,
this.
good times. Good TV.
Speaking of people who are still in shape to be action heroes.
Tell me more.
What
I said, tell me more.
Tell you more. John Krasinski is still fine as hell as Jack Ryan. So
Jack Ryan was great, huh?
We blazed through season 3 of that show in no time flat, because that show is just entertaining AF. They had a whole story arc this season about this Cold War Russian nuclear program that was like shut down in the 60s, and then like it was being brought back by some like rogue faction within the Russian government, and there was going to be a coup to take this. Talk about shows that are not based in reality.
Oh man, and like all that stuff like only kind of mattered.
Yeah,
because I didn't pay attention to a lot of the plot, because it was just like, here's like these 6 Russian dudes, and they all look pretty much the same, but they keep flashing back to them as when they were younger, and none of these people look like they could have become any of these old people. Like, not even close. There's just no resemblance at all, except for maybe skin tone, and even that's pushing it. Like, these people did not turn into these older people, so I had no idea who anyone in the flashbacks were. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. Stuff blows up good. Jack Ryan, he was going to get into a fist fight with a boat, and I was really upset that he didn't. There's a whole thing. It was like, you got to stop this boat, and he's the only one who can do it, and he's going to go get it.
He's like, I'm going to go on foot to catch this boat, and then have a fist fight with him.
It's like, what are you going to do? You're not armed. You've got nothing but your fists, and you know what? I'm fucking here for it. Do it. Beat up that boat, Jack. And then he didn't, and I was sad.
Oh, he did not beat up the boat, but there was a nuclear explosion that they was being triggered by this like terrorist group, and they were trying to make it look like America was the aggressor, that they were actually the ones who set off the bomb.
Okay.
And they were targeting this like small town in the Russian countryside so that there would be like 20,000 casualties, and there would be all that much more outrage. And the bomb was on a truck, and it was being driven by this guy that was like, he was just taking one for the team, and he was going to go down with the truck to set off this whatever chain of events. And Jack figured it out like moments before it was going to happen, and he's in a helicopter above like, you know, all the action. There's these trucks chasing these other trucks, and the truck with the nuke was going to crash and like cause the explosion. And he figured out this plan. So like as they're driving through the mountains, and there's these like long tunnels. So they had these army guys that they were gonna crash into. They're like, you guys all go through the tunnel, and the last truck, like, park it around this curve so you can't see it ahead of time. and like park it across the road so the guy can't get through, the guy with the bomb. And then we're gonna, you guys get out of the truck and run the rest of the way out of the tunnel so you won't be...
Right, took me a second to remember where you were going with this, yeah.
Sounds like then Wile E. Coyote showed up and the Roadrunner spun round, went beep beep, and then...
So then and then we're gonna turn off the lights in the tunnel. So like he extra can't see when he's gonna crash into this truck.
That all checks out.
So like he's in the, the helicopter is like racing to the other end of the tunnel, and all the trucks come out, and the last truck parks, and the guys are like hauling ass down the tunnel, and Jack gets the helicopter to land, and he's like, they're not gonna make it, and he jumps in a Hummer and tears ass down the tunnel to get these two guys, and then books it back out of the tunnel before the Russian guy crashes the nuke truck, and like they barely they come shooting out of the exit of the tunnel as the explosion is happening, but like all that happens is their Hummer kind of gets like blown off the road and they get like scrapes and bruises. It's like, wow. Are you fucking kidding me with this show that they set off a nuclear explosion underground and this is all that happened?
And like Jack wasn't, I mean, this was a terrible plan because he wasn't wrong when they weren't going to make it. Like these guys weren't even close. This one dude was like at least 60 years old, and he's like trying to book it, and like he's not gonna make this. Like he was gonna die.
The other guy was like dressed in fatigues and like army gear. It was like weighed down with 30 pounds of equipment or whatever.
Like he had to drive for a while to catch up to these dudes that were running, and like they barely made it out of the tunnel. Like, yeah, this plan was never gonna work. What are you doing?
But that's the point. Is that like he came up with the plan like. He figured out what was going on literal minutes before it was going to happen. And so, like, this was his plan. It was kind of not great. But
it was flawed
like,
to
he
begin
just
with.
figured it up literally in the helicopter, in the air, while he was watching it happen.
I guess
Glorious.
It's better.
What a fun show.
Nothing.
Yeah, and the whole season is just full of stuff like that. And it's really, really very, very satisfying stuff. Bad guys got theirs in the end. And the one guy who was kind of bad, but was like then seeking redemption, he like kind of got it. And the one everybody's manipulating the Chechnyan president, this lady.
Mm-hmm.
And she like kind of. She was pretty badass because one of the people involved that was like one of the Russian terrorists was her dad, and he had a standoff with this informant that was secretly working for the Americans, and he got shot in the leg, and then they're like, okay, we'll tourniquet you so you'll survive, and then she ends up in the room alone with him and just like takes off the tourniquet and is like, fuck you, Dad.
Damn.
My whole life has been a lie because you like set up this whole conspiracy and basically installed me as president so you could use my position to carry out this plan. And you're toast.
Yeah, I mean, dude was a grade A scumbag, and like it was a ballsy move to go ahead and murder him like that. But yeah, good show. Good show.
Yes, and it's kind of a show I forgot existed, where it was like, we got to the end of the year, like Willow was like petering out, and we were like, what's left to watch? And Kris goes, oh, there's a new season of Jack Ryan. And I'm like, oh, holy shit, I forgot that even existed. Like, it's been like a year since that happened.
Every time you guys talk about it,
my radar.
Yeah, every
Amazon's
time you guys
really
talk
good
about
at
it, I
that
still
whole
forget.
taking a long time.
I have not forgotten about Mrs. Maisel. No. Still waiting on that shit.
Yeah, Mrs. Maisel, Invincible just had that kind of like pseudo trailer that poked fun at the fact that it's been like a really long time.
Oh, I didn't even realize that a trailer came out for that.
Yeah, me either.
It's
It's not really a trailer. It's like a little short video.
Yeah, it's a new scene with like him and the one-eyed guy that was played by Seth Rogen, and like they're in a diner, and like he's asking him like what he's been up to, and he basically he's like, because it's been a long time. It's been like a really long time,
Yeah,
like a
I feel like a
suspiciously
very long time.
And it's very funny. I recommend watching it because it's a good time.
Oh, cool.
All right. Well, I think this seems like the appropriate time to take our doctor recommended break, and you should as the audience should take your doctor-recommended amount of commercials, and we'll be right back after this.
Hi everyone, Kris here. Podcast listening is free, but podcast creation is not. That's why the Geekade Patreon exists. In an effort to help us pay the bills, we've got a Patreon page set up where you can gain access to our monthly podcast topic schedule, get early access to many of our shows, and more. If you'd like to help support Geekade and keep these shows running week after week, head over to the Geekade Patreon page, linked in the show notes of this very podcast. And now, here's a quick look at some of the other original content available now from our partners and Geekade.com.
First up, on an all-new Sparkcast, the Autobots have joined a race for charity, but things are about to go south. They soon find themselves trapped in car form when, you guessed it, the Decepticons attack. Thrill, as the crew frequently gets off topic because this was quite possibly their most boring episode ever, but also thrill, as almost an hour into the show, they get around to their final character spotlight of Season 1, Optimus freaking Prime. Don't miss Sparkcast Episode 70, The Autobot Run.
That sounded so epic. Next, the Monkeys were stars of their... The Monkey. Come on, Evan. You know better than this. The Monkeys were stars of their own show, sold countless records, and were loved by many. Our very own Kris has been one of those fans for his entire life.
Okay.
So he chose this band for his pick for this month's episode of Turning Tracks. Matt, on the other hand, had his own history with the band, and he was less than a fan. Of course, his exposure to their... Oh, I'm so curious. Of course, his exposure to their hits was, let's say, less than conventional. Was Kris able to successfully convey why he's loved this band since he was a kid? Find out in Turning Tracks Episode 5, The Monkeys.
And maybe learn if Evan can read.
Yeah, it's been a day. Woo!
Finally, this time in a theater near you, there was horror. There was suspense. There was Kurt Russell.
Hey, yeah.
Yes, the gang watched The Thing, a horror classic that unsurprisingly Kris had never seen. What did he make of this one? Did Paul and Sean think it was as good as they remembered? How did everyone feel about candy hearts this far from Valentine's Day? Don't miss A Theater Near You, Episode 23, The Thing.
Yeah, Greg was eating candy hearts. I thought it was weird. He didn't.
Wait,
Wait, are they like from last year?
Wait, who was eating?
So we have the... All right, my friend Greg, he comes over and watches all the movies with us.
Got it.
That we do talk about on the podcast. And you know what? That's a good question. We had a whole conversation about the candy hearts in the show, and we all firmly believe that they haven't made candy hearts since the 80s.
No, probably not.
We're just still eating the same ones. They made one big-ass batch, and they just keep reselling them.
Now you're figuring it out, Kris. Getting on my level.
That, and you know those strawberry candies that just show up in old ladies' candy jars?
No, because you eat fucking violets,
so
you
good.
monster.
They're just magic. You can't buy them. You just have to buy the dish, and then they magically show up.
Wait, is that the one that's
I
like a little bit hard,
have never seen
but a
those
little
things
bit
for
chewy?
sale in my entire life. What is that about?
Oh, man.
You have to be a woman. You turn a certain age, and then you get the magical dish that the candies just show up in.
It's like the storks that drop off babies. After a certain point, they're like, your uterus doesn't work anymore. Here's some candy.
What?
That took a turn. For all this and more from us and our partners, be sure to keep your eyes on geekade.com. I thought somebody should say it.
It's fair.
And we're back. Welcome back. We are talking today about the pilot episode of the Winchesters, which, that was weird, Winchesters!
The Winchesters. Oh, yeah.
Let's put our pinkies up and talk about the Winchesters. So this premiered on the CW in October of 22. Back in 22? Like I'm a prospector or something. Okay.
Where are we right now?
It's gotten too late in the evening for me to be saying
Taking
things
us.
that make sense. So I picked this obviously because I'm a huge fan of Supernatural, and since this is a prequel series narrated by the original show's best character, I couldn't not watch it.
That's right, everyone. Misha Collins.
I will fight you.
I would fight me too.
I'd get my ass kicked, but I'd fight you.
Thanks.
So in the pilot, we meet Mary, a young version of Mary Campbell, who is in search of her missing father, a monster hunter on the trail of some mysterious object or other. Mary's played by Meg Donnelly, who was in the Disney Plus's series of Zombies movies, and also played one of the daughters on ABC's American Housewife. She crosses paths with the PTSD-afflicted John Winchester just after he's returned home from serving in Vietnam. He has received a letter from his also mysteriously missing father, who they eventually discover was a man of letters, which, if you don't know, is another secret society from supernatural lore, and they also fight otherworldly foes. John is played by a relative unknown named Drake Roger. By the episode's end, they agree to team up, solve the mystery that both their fathers seem to be entangled in. The gang's rounded out by fellow hunter Carlos and a nervous librarian type named Latika. And we also get to know John's mother, Millie, who is just kind of bitter and feeling abandoned because her husband disappeared and then her son went off to fight in a war and she was left to, be a mechanic in a small town in Kansas. And so, that is the story of the Winchesters. The pilot pretty much kind of brings you in and kind of fills you in on all the basics from the supernatural universe that you need to know if you are going in cold, why you would do that. If your name is not Kris Randazzo, I don't know. But I know how I felt about this, but one of the reasons I picked this is I just wanted to take Angie for a knot and point her at the show and let it go. So, girl, what you got?
Why did you do this to me, Karen? Why?
I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. I'm guessing that it was not a happy experience for you.
Oh no, I fucking hated this. But in this
explain to me why it's so bad.
Okay, so I am trying very hard to bring back the memories that I was blocking out after watching this because I just didn't like it. First of all, I understand that, in Supernatural, this is one of those things where we did see flashbacks of the parents, and of course they couldn't go with those cast members because, time. However, I just, John Winchester has fucking brown eyes. He has brown eyes. Okay? So, can we at least give the man...
Give this dude colored contacts?
Yeah, just start there. Just one fucking detail. Really? Really, Jensen Ackles? You're fucking making this show, and you can't get Daddy Winchester's eye color right? You fucking swine. Sorry. Anyway.
Easy. Damn.
Wow, she
so
came
annoyed.
straight out the gate.
Okay. Ooh, man, I gotta calm down. I just got really frustrated for a lot of reasons, one of which was the fact that, Dean is narrating this, and that's all whoop-de-doody, but...
Did he even narrate? I don't remember his voice at all.
Jensen Ackles was narrating parts of the story, and he's like, well, it starts here, but this is where it's gonna go, and then... And then they get to the end of the episode, and they're like, and then we'll tell you more. And then you see him standing at Baby, next to Baby, but then Sam's not there, and just the way that it's being done, I don't know if they're gonna bring Jared into this, or Jared Padalecki, for anyone who doesn't know, who is Sam Winchester, who is Dean's brother. I don't know if they're
currently a Texas Ranger.
Yeah, well, not a good one.
That's going so well.
So I don't know if they're eventually going to bring him in, but I did think that it was weird to see Dean doing this, especially because it is they didn't use technology and age him back down, so it's not like it's something that he's writing in Dad's journal before he went and grabbed Sam from college in season 1, or he, spoiler alert, died before Sam at the end of the series, so definitely wasn't at that timeline. So I just don't know when he would have been writing.
When does this happen? Yeah.
Yeah. And the other part
it
of
was
this...
just on a Tuesday, and Dean was... sorry, never not call him Dean. Thanks, Gilmore Girls. He was just off peeing. We're on the side of the road.
Yeah,
he was
sure.
just like peeing in the desert.
That's
there,
fine.
sold, done.
Great.
Problem solved. Show was flawless.
Awesome.
Why don't you fight her?
Other things that
I didn't feel that strongly.
nope, I'm taking issue. I'm going to keep going. So the other thing that I was bothered about was the fact that the way that this was done, where they bring in the Men of Letters, like, there better be a fucking explanation then for why Sam and Dean didn't know for years that they were legacies, and also why they sucked ass at fighting demons in the beginning of the show, John included. Because we get into this episode and it's like, oh, here, let me pull out my water gun and just fucking squirt it in the face of this demon. And like, oh, look at us with this exorcism. And I'm like, y'all struggled real hard in Supernatural. Like, demons were freaking scary. You guys, it was not, no, just no. This is not, it was not this easy for them in the beginning. It became easier throughout the series, but like, you don't get to take me to that place in this show because... like, that is not the experience that we were shown about Mary's childhood or past or anything in the Supernatural series, from what I recall. Now, I'm obviously going to have to do a rewatch of Supernatural so I can hate this show more. But I had issues with that. And then the way that they introduce the rest of the cast, and like they have like this little merry band of whatever. So I was like, yeah, sure, that's cool.
In box checking order, here you go.
Yeah, like Evan definitely felt like there was box checking, which I honestly felt like it was very much there. But like, because this is set in a time period, was this technically 60s or 70s when this is happening? Because I feel
like I was 60s, but I could be wrong.
Okay, yeah, because I know like it has to do with I'm pretty sure John was in Vietnam, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Okay. So in theory, yeah, this is 60s, and like, so it's, from my obvious lack of exposure to that, I think it kind of made sense that some of these characters were the way that they were. But the other part of this for me was just that, like, it doesn't have the same heart. And also, like, even if a show has pilot syndrome, when it's a show
which
that
this
is
very much did.
It very much did.
Very much did. Pet pilot's disease.
I think the problem I have with how much it had was that, like, because it's coming off of the Supernatural world and lore and history, and we had 15 years of that show, I just thought they would do a little bit better with it. And I can still kind of excuse that part, but like, I did not feel connected to these characters. I didn't find them likable. I didn't feel like the actors have any chemistry. And then when like Mary just shows up and she's like kicking all this ass, like I don't know. Like I wasn't sold on it. I didn't like the way that the scenes were cut. I didn't like the interactions between the characters. Like I was looking for something to hold on to because I do love the Supernatural universe so much. And I was really, really struggling to find it. I'm like, even now I pulled up the IMDb and I'm like letting it just kind of play through like little scenes and clips, so that I can make sure there's not anything I'm missing that I'm like, oh wait, but I did like this thing. Like, there was really very little of that. I'm hoping that if this show is going to continue, it's going to get better. But like, so far I've just found it largely disappointing. And also, that was the other thing with the demon they were fighting. They talk about how like demons will kind of just like ruin the body of the person that they're possessing, but then there's an opportunity where they can help somebody, and they kind of like don't seem to have any compassion or care for the person that they're trying to save, like the possessed person. And that's not something that, like, John later on, like, it would make sense that he doesn't care, because like that was how he was when he was raising his boys. He was a broken man who didn't really care about much and just was desperate for answers and revenge. But like Sam and Dean were not always like that. Like, they worked really hard to try and save people when they were first dealing with, exorcisms and trying to pull the demon out of somebody before it could destroy the host. And obviously then they get the demon knife and angel blades, and then all hell breaks loose, and nobody gives a shit about that. But initially they did. And I think what's happening for me is like, it feels as though this is coming off of more of the lore that came in like the second half of the original series. And for me as a fan, like the best part of the show was actually the first 5 seasons, with like really strong highlights that came in the 10 fucking seasons after. But nothing, I think, was ever quite as strong. I think there were seasons that came back, but it never as a whole really regained its footing for me. And I was just okay with that. It just doesn't feel like it's starting out strong. And also, I don't know if it was like just because the time that I was seeing the show, but the whole like pilot's disease or pilot syndrome thing that most shows seem to exhibit, I never got a sense of that with the first episode of the original series. And I don't know why. Like for me it was okay, but this just, I don't know, there's just a lot of things in this that I'm not connecting to it at all. And I think because Jensen Ackles was like bringing this to life, I had higher expectations and I was very let down.
That all tracks. That makes a lot of sense, because you have a knowledge basis for this, what the show, or what the original show was in its best and at its worst, and this show is starting at what the original show was its worst. Like I said this another show a while ago, this was a very CW show. Okay, very CW. The fact that there's zero chemistry between the two people, I'm not saying they have to be in love in the first episode, but I should like to see them on screen together.
You had one episode where Dean hit it off with an angel and banged her by the end of the episode, and that had more believability than these two fuckers on screen right now. Like I mean, literally. And that was a whole thing where they had to go through like
there's
history.
There's zero learning curve. 90% of the team has amazing experience in this situation, and we're just brought along. I just don't like. It's kind of silly to say I don't buy it, because it's demons and monsters, but I don't buy this Scooby Gang here. Like, I don't believe it, and it just was a really difficult watch. And at the end of the episode, when we were watching it, we both looked at each other and went, yeah, this suffers from pilot syndrome. And the fact that we didn't right then and there or within the next month watch episode 2 speaks volumes. Like, we only watched the pilot and did not like it, and didn't even like, there wasn't, it's like, I guess we don't want to ruin the original by watching more of this, that it could possibly just turn our opinion of it. But this was not good. I felt bad for my wife.
The one rule, and I talk about this a lot because I'm Star Wars whore. But the one rule when making prequel content is to do no harm to the original source material.
Boom.
And now I don't know any of the stuff you're talking about, but the fact that the dude's eyes weren't brown, what are you doing? Like, I know it's a small detail, but you're talking about supernatural people.
Yeah, there are no more rabid fans anywhere of anything than supernatural fans.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry for everything.
And the kind of stuff you're talking about, how like this stuff was difficult for them, and it's not being difficult for them now in this prequel. It seems careless, and that kind of stuff is like that's not what you do. That's big mistake territory right there. You're gonna do prequel content, you got to make it better. Then you got to at least attempt to enhance the stuff that came after it, and not make it worse by trying to by not paying attention to the details. Some prequels are hard to do right. Even the friggin' Hobbit movies had this problem. Like. And that was Peter Jackson. That guy doesn't screw around, but like it's hard to do right. So if you're going to do this, it's a bit of a risk. The only thing that I wrote down that really because since I don't have this connection to this show, the show didn't bother me at all. It wasn't like, didn't knock my socks off. It was kind of dumb, but it was fine. It was sure, it was a good time. I enjoyed myself while watching it, except the one thing that was bothering me is they made this big freaking hairy deal about that cross that was in his arm or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had this cross that was in his arm, and it was just there. Like, now I know this was a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure even back then, doctors would say, don't keep metal in your arm that doesn't need to be there.
Yep.
It's like, okay, but it's like, well, I guess they can't take that out, right? And then he gets into the fight, and he's just like, yoink. Well, if it was that easy to take out, why didn't you do it a long time ago?
Did I not yell
or even
in the
earlier
middle?
in this fight? What are you doing?
I blocked
That was
out.
the only thing I wrote down. It's like, it's
Hey,
like the
shut
boom
up.
thing in that other shit. It's like the boom thing in that other shit you guys are talking about. Like, what are you doing? And exactly, the answer was, hey, shut up.
Yet again, I'm going to have to ask you to get all the way off my back about it.
I cannot disagree with any of the criticisms of this show. I also have to agree with Kris that it was fine. It was kind of fun, on a surface level. It was like, all right, these people are romping around, killing monsters and whatnot. I think what I liked about it was just like the flavor of Supernatural. Like, it was just so like. I was happy to be back in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
I get that it's not at all a good representation of the universe. And if you want a good representation of the universe, the original show is not going anywhere. Yep. It's there. Mm-hmm. There's 15 seasons of it. There's no shortage of it. But I can't in good conscience recommend this either. It didn't bother me a whole bunch, and I guess, I don't know, my fandom maybe isn't as rabid as other people's.
You can just say me. It's okay. I know I'm an asshole.
It's not just you. It's probably most people. I feel like I'm in the minority when I say this. Like the brown eyes thing, right over my head. Like, all of that stuff. Like, the fact that everything was easy for them. To me, it was more like, let's do some shorthand for, like, people have watched 15 seasons of this already. If they're coming to this because they're a fan of Supernatural, they don't need to, like, we do not need to explain how possession works and exorcism and the rules and all of this stuff. Like, we need to get through this as quickly as possible. But I also see that, like, that has a very negative impact on the story itself. So,
well, what I would say is that in defense of, like, probably literally everyone else who is not as crazy as I am, I understand that, like, Mary is supposed to come from a family of hunters. It's just that, like, even with that, like, if that's the case, and this is a show that's starting out where John is going to have however many years of experience fighting alongside of her, before Sam and Dean are born, and then all of the time that he has raising them, it would make sense to me that then he would be better at it by then. Like,
you're 100% right. You're 100% right. It doesn't make sense.
But the other side of it too is like, yeah, maybe they are trying to move quickly through that, and maybe like it will have, like, I don't want to be so negative about it. It's just like, I'm so tired of being disappointed.
Wow, that train left the station a while ago, honey.
I know. Like, that's the thing. I finally
not.
got it out.
The bottom line is, it's not Supernatural, and it's never gonna be.
Right.
It's not the original, and nothing can be. That was lightning in a bottle, at least the beginning, as you say, the first 5 seasons or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely not the same thing.
Yeah. Like, there's even in the few episodes I've watched of Supernatural, like, Sam and Dean are just great characters. These two, their parents aren't great characters on this. Like, young versions of them, like, they're fine, but I didn't think they were all that exciting to watch. And I agree. I didn't think they had very much chemistry together either. I liked the sidekicks more than I liked the main characters.
Same.
And like they were very box ticky, but I don't mind that if it's at least, executed in a fun manner.
Yep.
Like I like just talk about Law and Order. I like formulaic. It's just you just gotta do it well. You just gotta put your heart into it, and there's got to be some natural chemistry there if you're gonna have people playing off each other. And yeah, the two main characters were like the least likable out of the entire bunch.
So you could check boxes all you want after you set the right cast. Like, okay, so my biggest complaint about this show is Mary Campbell in this show is played by a woman named Meg Donnelly. In Supernatural season blah 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 episode blah blah blah, there's a character named Claire Novak.
That looks just like
Catherine
her.
Newton.
Yep.
And they look fucking identical to each other.
Yeah.
And I hated that character in every episode that she showed up in.
Yep.
I'm like, what the fuck who is it? Why did they cast this girl? And I, for the life of me, I thought it was the same girl. Like,
Yep.
You don't like
Right down to the eyebrows.
yes.
Sorry, guys. I had to do it because I knew that he like he has ranted about the eyebrows specifically, and it just makes me laugh.
I mean, when a woman's face is 48% eyebrow, they have to do something about that because anywho, the lack of chemistry between the two of them, and then the fact that for most of the episode I kept thinking about a character that I did not like there was no hope for this show for me.
And that's a thing where I'm like, okay, I can accept that as like that's your bias just because it reminds you of Claire, and like that's whatever. That's why I said like I was desperately looking for things to like, and I just didn't.
So I originally watched this when it first came out. Whenever it was that Evan first put it on the Plex shortly after it came out, I watched the first 3 episodes. I think there were 5 total available at the time. And I'm remembering now feeling like the pilot was pretty hokey, pretty hacky, pretty like not great, but feeling like I'm not going to judge this show on the pilot alone.
Okay.
And so it was whatever 3 months ago. So now because I'm an ancient person, I cannot remember what it was, but I do remember that I watched 2 more episodes, and so there was something there that made me keep going.
Okay. That's enough for me to say like I will give the second episode a chance, especially if anybody else has watched it and has any thoughts or feedback. I'm open to their opinions.
Yes, as I said at the top of the show, we love emails about Supernatural, guys.
Yeah.
That's all we want to get is emails about Supernatural.
Honestly, yes, please. Thank you. Give me a reason.
But I, like I said, I certainly cannot argue with any of the criticisms any of you made against the show. This episode was certainly not the best way for anybody to get turned on to this show. Especially not fans of the original.
Was it a regular length episode?
Yeah.
It was regular, yeah. So, with that, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
No,
you were going to
don't be.
watch the show no matter what. That was not on you at all. I'm shocked it took us as long as it actually did.
Because I had that like drama and dread of like, oh, am I gonna dislike this? And if I do dislike it, how disappointed am I gonna be? And do I want to feel that way? And then do I want to have to talk about it? But then we actually had to talk about it. So I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. Typically I feel like less critical of a lot of things than maybe I could be, and part of why I wanted to talk about this on this show is because of Angie's rabid fandom. Like, I really needed a Supernatural expert on this one.
Oh God, I wouldn't say
did
I'm
either
an
of you
expert.
look at the IMDb for it? The goofs?
Yeah. No. What?
Supernatural established that John never knew Mary was a hunter, and
know!
he didn't become one until after Mary's death.
Yes. Hold on. Yes, but there is an episode, and this is the thing. This is the reason I didn't bring it up, because I didn't want to like go around trying to fact check every single detail. If I'm not mistaken, there is an episode where they do go back in time and they see that she had John's memories erased at one point.
Even when they got attacked by the angel Anna after they were married and he did not find out about Mary being a hunter, those memories were erased by Michael.
For fuck's sake! Fuck, I was right. I should have said it. I didn't want to be right. Fuck you.
Just had to read the rest of the goof.
Fuck you, Jensen Ackles. Fuck you, fucking CW. Fuck you, new writers.
We just hit an NC-17, honey.
I'm sorry.
All right. I think that seals it. Nobody watched this show. All right. That's all we got today, this week on the Winchesters. Honey, I know you're in the middle of something, but...
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm about to win this Pong match.
That's fine.
Right.
I'm going to point out that
the year of our Lord 2023, and the man is playing Pong.
I have one more thing to say. The angel who went back, Anna, that was the one that Dean fucked. He had chemistry with that angel.
I remember that very well.
Yep. More chemistry with the angel that tries to murder his parents.
Guilty of like rewatching that scene specifically on YouTube.
Oh my god! Listen, it was like they had.
It was good, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Whew, Lordy. Whew.
Yeah, baby has seen some shit. They had like
especially
a Titanic
if you count all the
moment.
fanfic.
Oh my god, yeah, that's true. Anyway, I'm so sorry for my rabid fandom.
As Kris was about to say, as soon as he scrolls through and
where the
finds
heck
right.
is my script? See, I'm not in front of the computer because I've been playing Pong this entire time.
All right, let's see. This podcast is not filmed in front of a live studio audience. However, if you would like to get in touch with us, you can reach out to all of us individually on our platforms. You can find Kris at...
I'm at Geekade Kris, Geekade KRIS on Twitter. And you can read my work at stoneagegamer.com and in the pages of Nintendo Force magazine.
Should I continue? You want to take over?
Yeah, there was a whole chunk over there. You did really good. That was just pretty top notch at the top.
I was just stalling. I was stalling with this because I know there's more stuff that you have to say. So
we have an official Geekade Discord where there's an entire This Week's Episode channel dedicated to all things TV talk. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram through the official Geekade channels and more specific Twepcast accounts that don't really get updated. So you've probably ignored that part. And of course, the four of us can be found in various ways. I already said I'm available on Twitter at Geekade Kris, and you can read my work on stoneagegamer.com and in the pages of Nintendo Force magazine. Karen, where can people find you?
STM Stitches on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, not really Twitter anymore, and Etsy.
Angie, where can people find you?
AngelaFernot.com.
And Yvonne, where can people find you?
Check us out at talesatcapefear.com. Big stuff coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I love big stuff. The bigger, the better. Mm-hmm. If you need to know more about the shows we discussed tonight or what we'll be watching in the future, have a look at our show notes. And if you have any other questions at all, we can always be reached at mail@geekade.com. Just include the words, this week's episode in the subject line so we know who you're trying to reach. This show is available anywhere fine podcasts are sold, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. And wherever you decide to listen, please like, comment, subscribe, leave reviews, because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. Again, as always, keep your eyes on Geekade for more fresh, original content. Back to you, Karen.
Indeed. So with that, my turn is over, and the next turn haver is our dear friend Angela. Angie, what you got?
All right, so on a less angry and aggressive note, I would love to recommend the show Upload.
Winchesters, episode 2.
Never. Burn in hell. I would like to recommend the show Upload, Season 1, Episode 2, 5 stars, because I think you're all going to give it 3 or 4 stars.
Oh.
All right, well...
Upload?
Yeah.
Upload. So...
Season what? Episode what?
It is Season 1, Episode 2, and it is available on Amazon Prime Video for anyone who uses the internet.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for that helpful information. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us this episode. I have been your host. I'm Karen.
I'm Kris.
I'm Angie.
You guys figure out a silly line.
Hi, I'm Evan.
Good night.
Wow.
Waka waka.
Good night, folks.
Nailed it.
What they didn't know was that the Akrita weren't just a threat to Earth, but to all of existence. Now, like I told you, there's gonna be some surprises. Hell, I'm still trying to find all the puzzle pieces myself. But I'll explain everything. And until then, I'll keep picking the music.
And this concludes our broadcast day.